Hi, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About This. I am your host, Crystal Hicks. My guest today is Carl Grant III. Carl is the author of a book called How to Life the Abundant Life. He's also a business owner and health and fitness enthusiast. Carl, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Crystal. Happy to be here.
Oh, good. It's good to have you on. How's it going so far for you today?
So far, so good. I'm sitting outside in Texas, so that's a good thing because normally it's too hot to sit outside. Uh, but it's a nice, cool day right now.
Yeah, I heard it gets hot in Texas sometimes. I was thinking
It
about
does. It went
moving
from
there.
hot to not hot. It was 91 degrees, and then next day it's 56 degrees. So
Oh my
that's
God.
Texas for you. You know,
Yeah.
got to
It
be prepared.
sound like that's how it's been here for the last couple days. We actually started it felt like fall for a couple of days and then the temperature started dropping. So now we starting to get that cold October weather now. But you just never know how the weather is going to be. One day is warm, next day is cool. But today is nice. I'm loving how it's feeling today. First of all, I want to ask you. You um, you have a your journey. Wait a minute, journey to abundance call. Oh, I got to make sure. Look, I'm gonna have to do this over again.
Okay, that's okay.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About This. I am your host, Crystal Hicks. My guest today is Carl Grant III. Carl is a author of a book called How to Life the Abundant Life. He's also a business owner and a health and fitness enthusiast. He's a married father of five adult children and a private pilot. Wow. You have a lot of titles there, Carl.
I don't do it. I don't do them all at once.
You know,
I'm not. I'm not currently flying. I got my license. It was one of those check the box items, that I wanted to do my whole life. And my wife told me, I started boating around the same time I started flying, and she said, "Will you just pick one?" So I I picked boating because it's more social, and it's less dangerous. You
yeah,
you you literally could sink in a boat and live, but you crash an airplane, you're probably not going to live. So
you're
I'm
right.
sticking to the safer stuff.
Yeah, and she's probably not as nervous as she was before, too.
She wouldn't go up in the plane with me. My kids
Really?
would, but my wife wouldn't. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So you have a book called How to Life the Abundant Life.
How to
Tell me
live the
about
abundant life. Yeah.
yeah, tell me about that book. What inspired you to write the book, first of all?
Well, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I believe that God placed a book in me and it needed to get out of me. I've just like that getting that pilot's license. It's is no explanation other than it's something I always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And
Right.
just like that same thing, I always wanted to write a book.
Okay.
And I didn't even know what the title and contents of the book was going to be until the morning I woke up to do the outline. And
Okay.
it just came to me. And so I have been blessed to live a very abundant life. I'm still married 30 years later. I've got five adult children who still love me. I've never gone a day hungry in my
Mhm.
life. Um, the book is not about financial, it's just not a financial book. People hear abundance and they think money. It's
Right.
the furthest thing from the truth. It's everything but, money's nice, but money can't buy you love and happiness and health. And I've experienced all of the above, and so I wanted to write about my journey to help people who are along the journey. And
Mhm.
so far, it's received 5-star reviews on Amazon. People, I get messages from people all the time who I don't know telling me
Mhm.
they were inspired by my book, and it's just wonderful. It for having poured 3 years of my life into putting that thing together, the fact that it's helping people makes me happy.
You know what? It's funny you said that because I just had this conversation with a previous guest on the podcast, and we were just talking about, he's also an author, and we were just talking about the fact that writing a book was, the fulfillment you get from writing a book and what people get out of the book was more fulfilling than making the money from the book,
Oh, you
and
don't make any money writing a book. Amazon makes all the money. It's the biggest scam in the world.
really? Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
I'm paying Amazon to sell my book. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Amazon makes buku money on
Yeah,
selling.
everything.
Anytime you do business with Amazon, they're gonna leverage and make most of the money.
It's a good company. I think I just invest in Amazon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I invested in Amazon because I figure they're gonna be around for a long time. I just don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. So, uh, but yeah, I'm glad that the book. I like the title of the book, "How to Life the Abundant Life." Tell me more. Give me more details about how you came up with the title.
Well, how to live the abundant life, it it really captured the essence of what I was writing. So I talk about first finding your purpose. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many people that go through life without a purpose and they don't even know how to find it. And so I go through the journey of finding my purpose. I talk about maintaining a sound mind. I know you like to talk about mental health. I think too many people just are captured by whatever thoughts come into their brain and they leave those thoughts in their brain rather than controlling what goes through their brain, and only you control what goes through your mind. So I talk about how to change from negativity and lies and saying and thinking bad things about yourself and your circumstances to changing that around, and then changing your life around by changing what you think, what you say, and ultimately what you do. I talk about growing spiritually. And I put a
Mm-hmm.
disclaimer in there: if you don't want to grow spiritually, you skip this chapter. But it's a big part of my journey because I was spent half my life as an atheist, and now the other half as a believer. And my second half has been a lot better than my first half. So I talk about that. I also talk about maintaining a healthy body. Now
Mm-hmm.
you said in the introduction I'm a fitness enthusiast. I watered that part of the book down because your
Mm-hmm.
average person doesn't want to do what I do, but I tell them what they can do to
Mm-hmm.
just be happy with themselves and to be healthy. And so I do some very simple steps of how to not gain a pound a year, as most of us do after the age of 20. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you wake up in your 50s and you're 30, 40 pounds overweight. And I was there. And so I go through that journey. I was 40 pounds overweight and I'm not now. I wear the same size clothes as I wore in high school today. And
Mm-hmm.
so I walk through that. I talk about pursuing personal growth, about
Mm-hmm.
setting goals, and like a book is a big goal. It was, in fact, it was such a big goal that it was too much for me to sit down and do. So I did it in bite-sized pieces. And I talk about taking, big goals like flying an airplane or writing a book or whatever it is you want to do. I mean, creating a piece of art, just
Mm-hmm.
breaking it down into doable tasks. I
Right.
talk about developing and maintaining personal relationships. That is one of the most important things that we can have in our life is friends and loved ones. And I think I've done a good job of that. And so I talk about how to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
talk about then establishing boundaries because once you become everybody's friend, you know, they will take all of your time if you let them. And so I talk about practical ways to save time for the things that are most important in life. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about being likable, building character, and developing a legacy, and then being part of a community, which I think is essential. And so those are
Mm-hmm.
all things I talk about in How to Live the Abundant Life. And if I had to give it an overall theme, it would be doing what comes contrary to human nature. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so if you think about when you wake up in the morning, most of us would like to stay in bed and eat potato chips or whatever your favorite thing may be to eat and just sit there and watch TV. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to live a productive life by staying in bed all day eating junk food. So I talk about switching the mindset and building into your life habits that go against what you would do naturally, and you do
Mm-hmm.
that in relationships too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive, and I talk
Mm-hmm.
about being a giver and how you're ultimately more blessed in the end because when you give to other people, those people like you and they want to do things for you. And what happens is the reverberation of those activities just overwhelms you with abundance. And so I
Yeah.
talk about that at home and in the community and in the workplace.
That's important. It's funny because I just started incorporating all those things you just said into my life. And it took me going through a tragic accident 3 years ago for my life to switch and for me to start thinking that way. Before the accident, I was just getting up, going to work, doing my regular 8-hour job, coming home, just living a normal, basic life. And then when I got hurt in the terrible accident,
What happened?
uh, it was a really bad accident. I got hurt at work. A pallet came down
Oh
on me.
my.
Yeah, I'm
Yikes.
actually lucky to be alive. It's been 3 years of a physical and mental therapy for me. And along doing my therapy, physically and mentally, I learned how to incorporate it into my life and make it a regular lifestyle. And I learned so much as far as like learning how to take care of your mind and learning how to take care of your body, throughout this journey. And I always say that, and I do believe in God. I'm a spiritual person like you. And I told God, I said, look, if you let me live, I will give you my life. And that's what I did. I turned my life over to God, and I look at life so much differently. And, I look at my body so much differently, whereas before the accident, I didn't take care of myself. I ate what I wanted, drank what I wanted, party. I did all kinds of crap. And now it's just now I'm taking care of my mind and my body. And I
It's amazing how
realized,
an accident like that can actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise, huh?
yeah, it turned out to be a blessing. And it also, and this is basically how this podcast came about too, on mental health and wellness. I had a guest who came on and she talked about mental health, and it just snapped in my mind like, okay, this is the reason why God kept me. My purpose is to help people get through their mental health struggles. And so I can relate to everything you just said,
That's
which is
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. So I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but I guess you're better off now than you were. My wife had a similar situation that I write about in the book. She was bedridden with Lyme disease for 3 years, and
Wow.
raising 5 kids, you can imagine how bad that got. And my kids had it too, so it was one of these things. We learned that it's actually can be passed from the mother to children, and can be passed from human to human, which we had no idea. You won't find that out there in the medical science at all, but through our trials we figured that out, and with scientists, and through this trial we found the cure for Lyme disease,
Mm,
amazingly. And I had a job. I was the head of global business development for a law firm that was the number one firm in life sciences, and I would meet a lot of startup companies that were doing things that might never see the light of day. And
mm-hmm,
I happened to come across a mom and pop life sciences company that was curing diseases that were thought to be incurable in the lab. And I said, "What do you guys know about Lyme disease?" And they
mm-hmm,
thought about it, and they got back to me and they said, "We can cure it." And I didn't believe them, but they did. And lo and behold, my wife recovered after 60 days of treatment, and she's back 100%. She's out riding her horse right now.
mm,
And you know, she couldn't ride horses during that time. It was horrible. Uh,
mm-hmm.
but we have since gone and patented that formula. And
Wow.
yeah, we have an issued patent, and we're trying to help people. It's available as a nutritional supplement today. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say that it kills Lyme disease, so I'm not going to say what it is. Somebody
Right.
can reach out to you, and you can reach out to me if they want to learn about it. But we're working on getting the proper approvals to be able to make claims, and it's exciting because we've helped many people as a result.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. It's amazing how you can go through things and how it could be a blessing to somebody else through, the things that you go through in life. It's
Yeah.
something. Let me ask you, as a business owner and fitness enthusiast, how do you balance the demands of running a business and maintaining your fitness regimen?
Well, so you know what? We all have the same amount of time every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? We none of us have any more than 24 hours in a day, and you got to sleep. for me, at least 5 or 6 of those, right? Some people have to
Mm-hmm.
sleep more. And
Right.
and so I schedule on my calendar my workouts because I make them a priority. And so I
Okay.
get up early in the morning and I do my wife and I do a Bible study and prayer time together first thing in the morning, 5 a.m. And then I go to the gym and I do cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Most mornings, I had to get my car inspected this morning. So I'll
Right.
confess I didn't do it this morning because
Right.
I had to get the doggone car inspected and get in front of the line, but on days I'm not getting my car inspected, I'm up doing cardio for half an hour. And then when I'm working from my home office, I have a treadmill desk. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I'm not sitting here on a Zoom call, I'm walking. Yeah, I would look silly if I was bobbing up and down talking to you right now, but
Right. Right.
so I don't do that. But I do, and I try to walk 20,000 steps a day. Now
Mm.
that's not I advocate in the book.
Right.
It's not,
Right.
but it's what I do because I'm 58 years old, and when you get older, you get fatter if you don't keep moving. And so
That's true.
I don't want to be 40 pounds overweight again. And then at the end of the day, 4 days a week, I go to the gym in the evenings
Mm.
and I lift weights. And so that's what I do. I make it a priority. Other people might have other priorities. They like to watch football games, whatever it is that you like to do, but that's how I
Oh,
make fitness part of my life.
yeah. And then fitness also, you feel good too. It's good for your mental and physical health.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No,
Mm-hmm.
the endorphins that are released, it's like if you know what a runner's high is, if you run and you feel good afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a morphine-like substance that your body releases to
Mm-hmm.
to combat pain when you're exercising, but it makes you feel really good and it fights off depression. So I don't spend a day depressed. I'm I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy and upbeat
Right.
just about all the time because I have natural endorphins flowing through my body.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important. That's something else that I'm learning. I incorporated swimming as a regular routine. I work out 3 days a week, every other day. I actually joined a swim class with a bunch of other ladies, and it's funny because I was telling the previous guest on my podcast that at one point in my life, I would never swim in a deep end of a pool. I was always scared of swimming in the deep end because I thought I couldn't swim. So through the class of just exercising in deep water, I got comfortable with being in the deep water, and then I taught myself how to swim. So I enjoy swimming now. It's just something that I just started doing, and I enjoy it. And like you said, it helps with depression because I struggled with depression not all my life, but I would say since the year 2000, when I went through a divorce. I was battling depression for years off and on. And swimming and working out helps me so much. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's become
Yeah.
one of my regular routines. So, but
I know swimming works for that. When I was a kid, my parents put me in a swim team and I'd get up and swim at 7 in the morning before school. And
mhm,
I felt that endorphin rush after
yeah.
swimming stronger than any other sport I ever did. And so I know exactly what it feels like. You get out of the pool and you're just elated,
Oh
it
yeah.
just and it lasts throughout the day. You can't be depressed with that going through your body.
Exactly. And then, once I get out the pool, I go into a steam room and then I switch gyms sometimes and then I go to another gym, LA Fitness, once in a while. And I like going there because they have a sauna, a jacuzzi. So so sometimes I make my way over there, but all these things I just started incorporating into my life and I didn't realize how important they were until after the accident. So, the physical therapy just became, because I was in physical therapy for a year after the accident and I had to learn how to walk again and everything. And I just got used to it. And I was like,
Yeah, that's great.
once it was over, I was like, I got to keep this thing going. So,
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's great. I
yeah,
didn't I didn't mention another thing I do, and I sometimes I wake up very early. I'm not allowed to wake my wife up before 5. So if
right.
I happen to arise at 3 a.m., which I do sometimes because I go to bed early, I will
Mm-hmm.
get up and I will sit and have some quiet time in an infrared sauna. I did
Mm-hmm.
that this morning for a half an hour, and
Yeah.
it's great. It gets up to 140 degrees, and
Uh,
and it like warms you from the inside out.
right.
And I try to get some quiet time in there. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't always hear stuff, but people say if you listen for God's voice, sometimes you can hear it. And sometimes I get something that comes to me and I'll write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And when I write it down sitting in that sauna, because I'm quiet, I just, I say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And I do
Mm-hmm.
that in Jesus' name. And sometimes I get nothing, like this morning, nothing. But some
Right.
mornings that still small voice comes to you. And I write it down on a tablet that I keep next to the sauna. And
Mm-hmm.
and then when later on when my wife is up, I'll show her what I wrote down, and she's like, "You wouldn't have come up with that. That's
Right.
not you, right? That
Right.
must have been inspired." So I keep a journal of all those things that come to me. It's not every day,
Yeah.
but every now and then, if you can quiet your mind just enough and
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's something I try to do. I don't get too much quiet in my life, I
Okay.
got a busy life, so getting that quiet time is important. And I
Uh,
think the sauna is very healthy.
yeah. Do you meditate at all?
Well, that is
Well,
kind of my form of meditation.
okay.
I'm not really
Okay.
meditating on anything, but I try to clear my mind. So I try to create 100% white space, which is so
Okay.
unusual for me, except
Yeah.
early in the morning like that, before I've gotten busy, before I've checked emails, before I've done all that stuff. If you just clear your mind, that's when you get that clarity of thought. The other time I get that clarity of thought is when I'm working out because
Okay.
I shut off my phone, so it's playing music, but I'm not getting any phone calls or messages. And so, you're getting those endorphins running
Okay.
through your body and your brain, and you just get that clear mind. And
Right.
I don't think those are God moments, but I think those are moments of personal inspiration
Mm-hmm.
where something comes to you like, I got to do this. And you
Mm-hmm.
go and you write down a note, and you follow up on that later. Some of my best ideas come to me when my mind isn't cluttered
When
with all the other things I have to do.
yeah, yeah, that is so true. I gotta practice you know, just clearing my mind sometimes because sometimes your mind could be so boggled with so many different things, like you said, especially when if you have a busy life. I find that I meditate better when I'm in actually already in the pool. It's funny because after the classes end, I take a bit of time to myself in the pool and I lay back in the pool and let my ears go under the water where I can't hear nothing. So if I can't hear anything, my mind is clear, and that's where I find the time to meditate, and it works for me,
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. What are some challenges you faced in both your business and fitness pursuits, and how did you overcome them?
Well, one of the
Yeah.
challenges in fitness is injuries, right?
Okay.
If you work out, I've worked out since I was like 13 years old, and I'm 58 now, so that's a lot of time. And if you work your body all those years, pretty pretty vigorously, you can hurt things. And
Right.
so working around injuries, like I had injured these tendons up
Mm-hmm.
here that connect your shoulders to your chest.
Mm-hmm.
I was working my chest really hard. It's my favorite body part to work. And I realized that, well, I'm overdoing it, I've got to, so I switched up my whole routine. You got to
Mm-hmm.
change and do things that don't hurt you. So I went back to the basics instead of doing all these flies and incline flies and all these things that were torturing my tendons. I just started doing close grip bench presses again. And you know what?
Okay.
I went from doing like 15 sets of stuff down to five,
Mm.
and just simplifying it and doing, and taking it slow and light and
Right.
working my way up, just like I was starting all over again. I went back
Mm-hmm.
to the basics, and sometimes you just have to back up and go back to the basics to get back to where you want to be. And so I'm in the process. I've been doing this for months now, working back, and I finally regained the strength I had before I stopped doing that exercise. So it was kind of like a personal goal of mine to get there. And it was kind of embarrassing getting there because I was using very light weights for a long time. And there's these young kids that'll come in there and they're benching 300 pounds and I'm over there with
Right.
one plate on, looking like the weak old guy. But
Right.
but you know what? I just sucked up my pride and I worked through it. And you got to do the same thing in business too, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I went from having a very big job at a big company for
Mm-hmm.
20 years to launching out on my own. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not easy. It's
Right.
not, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got to go and win all the work that you're doing for yourself. And I did, I have, and I'm persevering and I'm doing well, but it hasn't been without its challenges and trials. And so, if you lose a client, you got to go win another one, right?
Mm.
If things happen, and you got to constantly keep upbeat and stay positive, and things will work out.
Yeah, 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 you're right. Starting a business is not an easy thing at all. I started this podcast and I'm trying to turn this into uh um a way where I can actually start making finances from it, you know? So, and I haven't figured that out yet because right now more focused on the podcast itself and providing the information to the audience and helping other people heal through the information that I provide on the platform. That hasn't even crossed my mind yet, to be honest with you.
But you know what? I've watched folks, Joe Rogan being like the most famous podcaster, right? But I watched, he started out. If you go back and Google Joe Rogan's first podcast, he know what he was doing. I mean, it was horrible, but the dude stuck with it for decades. And now I go to Pakistan. I travel all over the world. I go to Pakistan and I talk to young men in Pakistan. They all listen to him. I couldn't
Mm,
believe it. He's got reach all over the world.
mm,
And so once somebody listens to I don't listen to all of his podcasts, but I listen to the ones I think are going to be interesting. And if I know they listen to it, then I say, "Oh, did you hear this one?" And then you have something to talk about with somebody clear on the other side of the world. But now because he's been doing it a long time, he's honest and he's
mm.
sincere, and I think he's just totally open with the way he talks about stuff. And and
Okay.
and you know what? It's now he good
Yeah.
dude's making so much money. And I've listened to other podcasters, especially during the whole COVID, you know, debacle that we had here. I just started
Right.
listening to alternative voices, and I watched
Mhm.
guys that were doing 5 shows a day, had no advertisers, and they just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it. And now they've got these massive audiences, and they have ads, and
Yeah.
it's making them money, and they didn't even set out to try to do it. I think you just need to stick with it and
Mm-hmm.
and and bring a message to your audience,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to build up loyal audience members, and over time, you're going to really have something of value, and there will be companies that want to promote it to that audience, and you know
Right.
what, your audience will want to hear from them because they trust you. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you're advocating for a product or a service, and it's in your voice and you're talking about it, they're going to listen to you because they trust you, and
Right.
it'll come. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I've been doing. I just been sticking with it, you know. I actually started to well, now I'm at it's funny because a year ago I was at what, maybe 10,000 subscribers and now I'm at 30,000
That's
subscribers.
fantastic. That's fantastic. As somebody who's done a podcast, I know how hard it is to get there, right?
Yeah.
I celebrated every thousand, it's like, wow, 1,000 listeners,
Yeah,
it's
uh-huh. And that's a
it,
lot of people. You
it
look at it,
is.
it doesn't seem like it when you look at the number 30, but when you picture it in a room or a stadium or something, you say to yourself, "Oh wow, that's a lot of people."
It's a lot of people. And
Yeah.
when I was doing my podcast, I was so surprised. I got one of my first consulting assignments was from a fellow who had listened to my podcast. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
believe it. He goes, and, I use the third because my son works with me. He's the fourth. So I don't want to. You said Carl Grant the third. He goes. I've listened to all your podcasts, and he
Uh-huh.
hired me to come and do training for this investment bank that he worked for their bankers to how to do business development. And it was just, and I got, from writing the book, I I was joking about not making any money writing a book. Well, I sat down and I met with the CEO of a company several weeks ago, and he said, Carl, will you sign this copy of your book? I love your book. I couldn't believe it. And so I
Wow.
signed the book, and I'm consulting with this company.
Wow. Isn't that
Yeah, I
something?
mean, so you do these things, and even though I never made a penny off of my podcast,
Mm.
hardly made a penny off of the book. I spent more on my book than I've made, to be honest with you. But
Right.
I have gone as far as Saudi Arabia and met with a government official in Saudi Arabia, and he said, "I'm reading your book." I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And I've
Wow.
had enough of those interactions where I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
it's
That's a good
it's
feeling. That's a good feeling.
it is. I've got I'm trying to figure out if this is real. I've got a company that's reached out to me about adapting my book to a film, to
Hmm.
doing a film adaptation. And so I had never dreamt in a million years that this book could turn into a movie. I didn't even think about it. But here we're going down the road, and I'm like, is this real? Is this really
Right.
going to happen? So yet to be seen. Maybe this podcast will be out there and the film will be a hit one day. Who knows? We
Yeah.
shall see. We shall see. But these are the kind of, if you just keep doing it and putting your stuff out there, eventually good things come to you.
Wow. I already got a sponsorship, which is I'm excited about. It's a drink. I want something that uh you know, I don't want to just advertise any product. It's got to be something that I believe in, something that I use myself, and something that I know other people would enjoy. So I'm in the process of doing that now. So that's exciting. So
But that's what I mean. Your
yeah,
listeners will trust you because it's what you said. You're just not going to push anything out there, and
yeah.
I get that. And so if they trust you and
Hmm.
you're saying you like something, they're gonna want to try it. I do the same thing with people that I listen to. If
Yeah.
I trust their opinion, I'll go try it. I've bought more things because I've heard influencers who I trust say
Hmm.
that they like something and they talk about how they've used it and how it's benefited them. I'll go out and buy it and try it myself.
Right. Yeah. So could you walk us through what is your typical day like? What walk the audience through a typical day for you.
Well,
Oh.
so my work days vary greatly.
Hmm.
But my family life and my personal time, they don't. So I'm consistent. I like I said, every morning at 5 a.m. my wife and I do our Bible study together, and that's precious time. And we spend about an hour together in the morning reading the Bible. It actually reads itself to us. We read it, and it's an audio Bible.
Hmm. What you froze up a little bit.
On the phone. There's an app, and so we'll do that together. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you now. You froze up a
Oh,
little. Okay, there you go. You're
okay. Yeah, I
back.
froze for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some mornings that I will go into a client site and work at a client site during the day, but the
Hmm.
other days it's between emails and Zoom calls and a lot of this, the virtual work that we learn how to do during COVID, those are
Yeah.
my other days when I'm not on a client site in-person meeting with people. And so I work really hard 5 days a week and I have a lot of meetings. If you look at my calendar, you'll see that there's a lot of people getting on my calendar. I use Calendly to schedule meetings, and
Hmm.
I think we did that ourselves even,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I always eat early because I like to you know digest my food before I go to bed.
Right.
I will go work out, and if I've budgeted enough time into my day, I'll spend about a half an hour in the evening watching some TV with my wife. We have some series that we're trying to get through, so I try to build some time in so it's just not all work, work, work.
Right.
You have some margin. On Saturdays, I take, and this isn't like a legalistic thing, but in the Bible, there's the Sabbath day, there's a day of rest, and so I
Hmm.
try to do that on Saturdays. I try to just I shut my phone off. I try not to get into the hustle bustle of the day.
Hmm.
I will take some time to watch some TV shows that I just don't do during the week. It's also my cheat day. I eat very well 6 days a week.
Okay.
And because I give myself a cheat day where I can just eat whatever I want,
Yeah.
it helps me stay good 6 days a week. And so I enjoy my Saturdays. And
Okay.
it's not all, I'm not in bed all day. I mean, we live on a, I have a lake on one side of me and I have a resort on the other side of me. And so I try to get to one or the other, sometimes both, and enjoy
Okay.
those days. Sunday morning I go to church. And then after church, I'm not fully back into the work week, but I can work on some projects that I might not have gotten to during the week. There's some things that some business ventures that I will pursue on Sunday afternoons, and then back to the gym on Sunday evening. So
Right.
it's a happy life. I will typically do a date night with my wife on Saturday nights. Sometimes I'll meet friends on a Friday night. You know,
Okay.
it's I try to maintain friendships. A lot of people when they get older and married, they don't do that, but I do.
Right.
I've got friends, and when it's warm,
Oh,
with the resort across the street, there's a swim up bar at the pool,
oh, those
which
are
is
nice.
just so nice. It has the breeze, like the water that come, they mist the water off it and they play
Right.
nice music, and it's just a nice place because I walk across the street,
Uh-huh.
and those people were on vacation over there.
Right.
They had to travel to get to this resort. I literally walk across the street, and I'm on
Wow.
vacation. So it's nice. Yeah.
Man, you're right across the street from a resort.
Yeah, and when I can, I've been trying to, like I said, on Saturday I do things that I don't do during the
Right.
week. So I've been trying to read books on Saturdays as well. So when I
Yeah.
can get away with shutting my phone off and leaving it at home and taking a book over to the
Mm.
pool,
Mm-hmm.
there's places where you can sit in the water and
Yeah.
and read a book, and that's just the nicest thing in the world. As long as people don't splash your book, it's good.
Right.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
that's nice. I gotta get used to leaving my phone.
It's
Uh,
hard. It's hard. I left my
my
phone
life
off
is in
one
there.
day and people were trying to get a hold of me, and I literally had a friend call my wife because I thought I was dead. I said, "No, I'm not dead. My phone
Right.
is off." You know,
Right.
tell her my phone is off. Yeah,
Right.
I'm taking a Sabbath rest from my phone.
Right. It's funny because, people don't understand sometimes people expect you to answer your phone all the time, but then when you shut your phone off, like you said, people think there's something happened to you. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Sometimes you just need a break away from that phone.
I shut my phone off last night when I came back. I told you I got about a half hour to just sit down, watch some TV with my wife. I had a glass of wine. It was nice. And
Right.
my phone was off. And I had 139 messages when I turned that phone back on. I thought, what are all these people messaging me for? You know,
Right.
none of them were that important.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. And now you got to go through all those messages. Oh.
One of them was most of those were so I was in a fraternity in college, and
Hmm.
for these guys, we were together in the 1980s, and these guys have a group text, and they
Uh-huh.
will they will get off on a topic, and then everybody will pile on, and they'll just be messaging back and forth in this group text, and
Hmm.
so it's a bit much. I scrolled through it to see if there was anything like make sure nobody died or anything.
Right.
You know, you
Something
know,
important.
it's
Right.
nothing. It's just nonsense. Just
Yeah.
nonsense. Sports, politics, just nonsense.
Uh, what advice would you give entrepreneurs who want to prioritize, fitness while growing their business, like myself?
Yeah, so a lot of entrepreneurs will pour their life into the business. They will work morning, noon, and night, and they will lose their family, they will lose their fitness, they will do all that, and they're not always the most successful. I find the ones that figure out how to put some balance in their life. I'm not talking like 9 to 5 balance. I'm talking about, where they're carving out time in their day for
Hmm.
exercise, and
Yeah.
carving out time in their day for the people who are important in their life. Maybe they don't have a wife like I do and kids like I do, but they've got to have somebody important in their life. If
Hmm.
you don't give time to that relationship, it's going to die. I've
Mm,
watched more marriages die, and you've been through a divorce, right? Like
yeah.
divorces
Yeah.
don't happen by accident; they happen for a reason. And I have wanted to be careful not to go down that road. I value that relationship, and so
Yeah.
You know, when you've got something like that, you've got to invest in it. And so I try to be present. And with my children, I can tell you that I was there for every single game or
Mm-hmm.
performance or birthday. I didn't miss anything. And
Mm,
so you just you prioritize what's important in your life.
mm-hmm.
And I did a couple of startups early on in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
um, they blew up. I mean, not all these startups work out.
Right.
I was part of two venture capital backed startups, and after two of those blew up in the early 2000s, my wife said, "How about you don't do any more startups while I'm raising all these kids?" And I,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I said, you know what, I'll listen to you on that. And I went. That's when I went to work for a big company. So the startup life is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do it, you have to realize that the failure rate is high,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to dust yourself off and pick yourself back up and know when to pivot away from something. Sometimes something's not working,
Right.
and you just gotta let it go sometimes and change what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then when something is working, you gotta stick with it.
Right.
And I've done that with one of my businesses. I've stuck with it, and my son's working with me on that, and we're actually merging that company with an international company as we speak. And so that's exciting. You know,
Yeah.
there were some really lean times with that business.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I had a couple of startups in the past that didn't really work out, so I just let it go and I just decided to start. This has been the only actually startup business is this podcast that's really been working out for me so far. And I think it's because I enjoy it and I had it's a and it gives me a purpose. And I think that's what it is. I think before I was just starting a business because I was only thinking about how I can make money on my own and unlimited income or whatever. But, I realized that you have to have a passion for what you do because it doesn't become work. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy, talking to people and getting information and learning from them and them learning from me and helping heal the world. It's a passion for me. I can't even wait until I can go out and start speaking on stages. That's the next step for me. So, but yeah, I could totally relate to what you're talking about. It's a
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I so ever since I wrote that book and stepped out of my comfort zone, I've been asked to speak places and it's wild, you know.
yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's exhilarating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. I'm glad you did because it really is. It really is. I enjoy what I do. I really do. It's something that I look forward to. I can't when I get the next guest to come on the podcast, I'm like, okay, let me do my research and read up on this person and let me see what information they can provide for the audience or someone who might be going through something. So it's amazing. Looking ahead, what are some goals you have for both your business and your personal fitness journey?
Well, so with my fitness journey, I try to get a little better every day. You know,
Okay.
I want to look you know, even though I'm getting older,
Yeah.
I want to look better and feel better and be healthier, not the other way around. And
Right.
so for me, aging is like it's like a competition.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going against nature here,
Yep.
and so far I'm winning.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
it's
good.
not easy, but I'm winning. You know,
Yeah.
it gets harder as time goes on, but I'm winning.
Yeah.
And so I want to get to a point in business where I don't have to worry about making money, just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
I have been blessed with that thing that got my wife better from Lyme disease. It
Mm-hmm.
happens to be a platform technology that where we can kill other diseases, and we've got some independent scientific proof, you know, like independent research you know, in mice that shows that we're able to do certain things that nobody else has figured out how to do. And
Yeah.
so I would love to be able to pursue that, not so much because it's going to make billions of dollars, which it may, but
Right.
it's because the end result is it's going to help a lot of people. And so
Right.
I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot of time and
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of money and a lot of effort. And so on the business side, I'd like to do that. On the personal side, so when I came to faith at the age
Mm-hmm.
of 24, I read the Bible for the first time in my life.
Mm.
Never had read it before. And then 10 years later, I
You
think it
read
was
the
around.
whole, did you read did you read the whole Bible?
Oh yeah, I've read it now several times, many times.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. And because we read it every morning, my wife and I do. So we just
Yeah.
start from the beginning in the Old Testament. We do a chapter in the Old Testament, we do a
Okay.
proverb, and we do a New Testament chapter, and then you just keep working through it, and you do
Yeah.
that year after year. And but 10 years after that, it was right after 9/11. I'm like, there's people in the world that don't believe what I believe, and so I wanted to know what they believe. So I picked up the Quran and I read the Quran cover to cover. I finished it in almost a week. It took me a little over a week.
Wow.
And that was eye-opening because I had going into it, I didn't know what it said. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And little did I know that it had its roots in the Old Testament and in Christianity. I mean, they believe in the Old Testament prophets and they
Mm-hmm.
believe in Jesus. And they have
Mm-hmm.
different ideas about some of the things that you and I might believe, but a lot of it's the same. And
Mm-hmm.
so having understood that, I found that I had the ability now to talk to Muslims about their faith, and for a lot of Muslims, their faith is very important to them,
Mm-hmm.
and so being educated on that is giving me, an ability to relate and to build bridges. And there's not
Mm-hmm.
too many people that come from America that can do that. There's some, but so I've been to Saudi Arabia twice, I've been to Pakistan 3 times, and I've built a lot of friendships over there, and I've been asked to speak over there. I've spoken, I think, 3 times in Pakistan and once in Saudi Arabia, and they're very receptive to,
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken on cultural similarities and differences, and I've spoken on religious similarities and differences. And I now have a ministry that I'm doing this Sunday. It's called Bridges of Faith. And
Mm-hmm.
it's an interfaith study that Christians and Muslims are doing together. And
Wow.
and yeah, and I have a Muslim woman from Pakistan that kind of co-leads it with me, and
Mm-hmm.
she's asked that we were studying. So in addition to the Quran, Muslims have these things called the Hadiths. Think of them as like it's outside of their holy book, and they're not necessarily all inspired by God.
Mm-hmm.
They're thoughts of the prophet, or and so we just started studying those because I had never read those, and so I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it for the first time with Muslims. That was really interesting, and they said, well, we just don't want to study the Hadiths. We want to study the Old Testament, maybe a hadith or the Quran and the New Testament. And so this next
Mm-hmm.
study that we're doing, we have an outline where we're going to touch on all three. And it's a very respectful, it's a very loving interchange. We pray together. It's wonderful. And so I would like to spend more time doing that because I think we need more of that in the world. We need less division and more building bridges and understanding of each other.
Yeah, we really do. You really do because it seems like with the way things are going in politics is like, people want to take us back and we don't want to go back. We're trying to go forward, in this country. And I don't want to get into politics because politics and
You're
that's a
wearing
whole
your politics on your head.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into politics.
Yeah.
We all have our views, and some of my
Yeah.
best friends have very different views than me, and so I, I, I'm one who doesn't like to divide over these things. I'm a
Yeah.
peacemaker, and we've got an election coming. The election's going to come and go, and life
Yeah.
goes on, and
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
true.
we all need to get along. I don't buy the media nonsense of the divisions. They're trying to pit right against left and
Yeah.
black against white and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I just don't see it that way. I live in
Right.
Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, Texas is a bright blue dot in the middle of a very red state, and we
Mm-hmm.
all get along here. There's you,
Right.
you drive down my street and you see Trump, Harris, Trump, Harris, Trump, Harris, and they all get along down there, right?
Right.
There's nobody breaking any windows or fighting or any of this stuff.
Right.
And when this is over, those signs will come down and there'll still be neighbors and they're going to
Mm-hmm.
help each other out. And that's the way it's got to be. And so
Yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I unplugged my cable TV up until just recently. I'm now plugged it back in because I just didn't want to be part of all of the nonsense. So,
Yeah, I found myself getting caught up in politics, and then I said to myself, man, let me get away from this because all it does is it makes you upset, it makes you angry when you hear all this different rhetoric and stuff on the news and everything. And I was like, I am going to vote, but like you said, life goes on once the election is over. And, it's all about people getting along. We all got to live in this country together. We all got to live around in the community together. So, that division stuff, I just can't get with all of that.
yeah, I'm with you, and so I'm trying to operate outside of that realm. I used to live in the Washington D.C. area, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
worst around there. And so I'm far away from that now, and it's not so political around here.
Yeah.
It's pretty peaceful here. So
Yeah. I might have to come check it out there, Austin, Texas. I'm looking for a place to move, and I haven't decided where yet. I was Texas was one place. South Carolina is another. Atlanta is another. I'm just trying to find a place where I could get my money's worth. I live in the state of Pennsylvania right now, and I just can't see spending $400,000 for a used home. If I'm going to spend that kind of money, it's got to be a brand new house or a brand new
what's
townhome.
It's funny that you say that. So we're working with I'm going to give one of my clients a plug. We're working with this company called Re-Up Living, and what
Mm-hmm.
they do is they take an existing home and they turn it into like a new home purchase. So they will create a digital image of the home,
Mm-hmm.
and the brokers bring them in, and they will increase the value of it because you as the home purchaser will be able to put in the appliances that you want, the finishings that you want, and so they take it down to the studs, and
Mm-hmm.
they allow you to make it like a new home, which has become very popular. And so
Wow.
the the seller is able to sell the home for more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the buyer's happy because they're getting everything that they want, and then they split the profit, I think, with the seller, and it's everybody's happy, and so they're doing really really well. The CEO of the company lives right down the street from me.
Yeah,
So,
and I noticed that the homes down there in Texas are half the price of what they are here. I was doing my research and I'm like, wow, you can get a huge house for about 200,000. They want like 4 or 500 for a house here, and it's not even brand new.
well, Austin has gotten more expensive. With Elon Musk and everybody else moving here, it's really brought a lot of folks here, and so the prices have gone up. They were pretty cheap when I bought,
Right.
but they've gone up. And the value of my home has gone up considerably since I bought it because of the influx of people. And a
Yeah.
lot of that happened during COVID
Yeah, I
because
was gonna say that.
Texas was one of the more free states. I mean,
Hmm.
we had some mandates, but not many, right?
Right.
We were pretty much open and free, and you can go about doing what you wanted to do, and that was nice. And so a lot of people came here, a lot of
Yeah.
Californians, a lot of New Yorkers, and me.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice that the prices did go up a bit, like you said, since COVID. Everything has been going up. It's ridiculous. I mean, for an apartment, you could spend $1,700 a month for a one bedroom apartment in this area, which
Where
is
where in Pennsylvania? Are you in Philly?
I'm in I'm about 25 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't want to live in the city, but I go to Philadelphia all the time. I could hop right on 95 and it take me about 20, 25 minutes and I'm in Philadelphia. I like where I'm at because I'm like, it takes me about an hour and 20 minutes to get to New York City. And then it takes me 25 minutes to get to Philadelphia. So I'm like right in the middle,
Yeah.
which I like. But I just didn't want to live in the city. I don't mind visiting or maybe vacationing, but living in the city, I had enough of the city life.
Yeah, I lived in New Jersey outside of Philadelphia. My dad was a television anchor in Philadelphia when I was a kid. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, a
Oh
long
okay.
time ago. That's when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, yeah. So I have one last question for you, and are you how has your perspective on success changed over the years in relation to wealth, health, and happiness. How has that changed for you over the years?
I suppose when I was younger, I thought it was all about achieving certain levels and titles and amounts of money. And it's at this point in life, it's not so much about that.
Yeah,
I don't care about titles. You know,
yeah,
I think I'm listed as CEO of like three companies now. Who cares, right? Like you know, I probably need less of that. You
right.
know, and once you have enough money,
Hmm.
uh, you know you don't get exceedingly more happy with exceedingly more money, right?
Yeah,
And so I have no doubt some of the things I'm working on is going to turn into financial blessings, and you know I will enjoy it, but it's not what I strive for. That's
right.
not. It's like what you're doing with your podcast. It's not. I'm not chasing titles. I'm not chasing money. I want to be happy in the relationships I
Hmm.
have in
Yeah,
my life, and happy in this body, this temple that the
yeah,
the Lord has given me. You know,
yeah,
and I want to take care of it, and I want to live healthy and happy for a long time. And so, you know, that's my perspective.
yeah. I want to go back to what you were saying about spending time with your wife. I don't know if you ever seen the video on TMZ. You know Judge Mathis. I don't know if
I
you heard.
told you I unplugged my cable
Oh,
there
you
for
unplugged your
years,
cable.
so I haven't watched much, you know, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, Judge Masters. He had a television show. But anyway, he it was funny. TMZ was chasing him down. I don't know where he was at. I think he was in the airport, and they were asking him because it was all over the news that him and his wife went their separate ways, or they were breaking up, or getting a divorce, or something. And he told TMZ, he said, "Yeah," he said, "I'm going to go get my wife back," and because they was asking him why, what happened, and he said he was honest with the reporters. He told them, he said, he wasn't spending time with her. He was spending all his time working, or he was golfing or whatever with his buddies or something to that nature. But he came back and they asked him again. He said, "Yeah, I got my wife back. I'm spending more time with her now. So relationships, spending time with your wife is very important, you
Yes,
know.
indeed. Yep.
It really
Blessed to
is.
have
So
one.
yeah. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out and coming on the podcast and sharing so much good information for the audience. Could you let everyone know where they can find your book?
Yeah, so
Uh,
if you go on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or even Walmart, you know, you can go
okay.
on any of those sites and you just look up How to Live the Abundant Life by Carl Grant III. It'll pop up, and if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm carl.grant.iii. Follow me
Okay.
there, or shoot me a note on LinkedIn. I'm Carl, you just Carl Grant the Third. Any of the social media sites, I'm on there.
On
And
your own.
if you send me a message referencing the book or the podcast, I'll respond. And so, love to hear
Okay.
from you.
Yeah, well, I'll be sending you a follow on Instagram because I usually make clips of my in episodes. So I'll be tagging you a clip of these episodes. So but Carl,
Awesome.
thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming on. You share so much good information. And for the audience who's watching, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And also make sure you watch the content, which is very important. Until next week, we'll see you then. And Carl, thanks again for stopping in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Crystal. I enjoyed it.
You take care of yourself.
You too.
Bye bye.